Good morning, dear students. Today we are going to take an interesting concept, talking about hydrosphere and biosphere interaction. Are you ready? As we all taken before, that water is very important for our lives. But you know why it is important? Yes, because human and animals drink water to survive, plants also need water to grow, and finally some animals and plants already live in water. While we use water in bathing, preparing food, traveling, cleaning, and manufacturing. Do you know that Earth's system consists of 4 spheres, which are, first, the atmosphere. The sphere contains all gases. Second, biosphere. The sphere contains all living organisms. Third, the geosphere. The sphere contains rocks, mountains, and metals. Fourth, the hydrosphere. The sphere contains all water on Earth, and we will take them in details later on. Here is an important question. Is water a renewable resource of energy? What do you think? Super! Water is renewable and it makes water cycle each year. Water evaporates and becomes water vapor to be collected in clouds, then condenses and falls in a form of rains. And this is called water cycle. Again, water cycle is when water evaporates to form clouds, then condensates in a form of rains. Okay, what about plants? Are plants renewable resource or not? Excellent. Plants are renewable as plants start in a form of seed, then it grows to make a tree, then the tree make a flower, the flower contains seeds inside it, so it disperses everywhere to make a new plant. So yes, plants are renewable. We talked before about how water is important for living organisms. Let's talk about how water affects non-living things. Water and wind can cause weathering and erosion for rocks. But first, do you know the meaning of weathering and erosion? Weathering means breaking down of rocks into small pieces, while erosion is moving of these small pieces from one place to another, as you can see right now. And when these rocks lay down, this process called deposition. Do you know that the water represents 3/4 or 70% of Earth's planet? That's why we called our planet a blue marble. Water is divided into salt water, which represents 97%, and fresh water, which represents 3%. And we call them aquatic ecosystem. Again, aquatic ecosystem consists of fresh water and salt water. The fresh water like lakes, ponds, runoff, river, and groundwater, while salt water like ocean, sea, salt lakes. Let's start with the saltwater ecosystem, which consists of 2 areas. First, the shallow area, which contains coral reefs and intertidal zone. The intertidal zone is the area that appears at the low tide and disappears at the high tide, while the second area is a deep area of ocean where sunlight cannot reach and called abyssal zone. Ocean and seas. Ocean water circulates around the world in pattern called ocean current, and its direction can be predicted. Wind also moves the water forming waves. Water of ocean and seas is constantly moving in the form of waves that crash onto the shore. There are many living organisms that live in ocean and sea, such as kelp, dolphin, mosses, and starfish. Saltwater lakes. Lakes are saltwater bodies that are surrounded by land. The salt lake in Egypt are like Etku, Manzala, Bardawil, Mariut, and Borollos, while the highest salt concentration lake in the world called Lake Assal in Djibouti, where only few types of plant and bacteria live in it. Let's take the freshwater ecosystem. As we said before, lakes are freshwater bodies surrounded by land, and they may dry up in hot summer months. Fresh lakes in Egypt, like Lake Nasser, Lake Karun, Lake Wadi Rayyan. While ponds are a type of wetland, where the land is partially covered with water, and they are still water. That's why insects lay their eggs in it. There are different organisms live in ponds, such as water lilies, frogs, salamander, and leeches. Do you know why some insects lay their eggs in ponds? Super, because ponds have still water. Rivers. River is a water flow from an area of high altitude to an area with a lower altitude, while groundwater is the water that lies beneath or under the Earth's surface and has been leaked into Earth through a layer of porous rock, forming what is known as aquifer. Groundwater supplies wells and springs with water. The runoff water. It is the water body that is formed of water from rains or melting of snow and moves into rivers or the ground. And finally, the streams. They are flowing water bodies that are cool and flow fast. Many different plants and animals live in flowing water, like catfish, crayfish, trout, and mosses plant. And it looks like an algae. There is a mixture between saltwater ecosystem and freshwater ecosystem called estuary. Estuary is formed when river meets a sea or an ocean, so it always contains mixture of salt water and fresh water. Let's take the Earth's systems in details. Are you ready? First, the hydrosphere. It is the system that includes all the water on, under, and above the Earth, with all its states, solid, liquid, and gas, where the word hydro means water. The solid state, which is the frozen water on Earth, called cryosphere, while one large sheet of ice or snow that moves slowly, called glaciers. Here's an important note. The total amount of water on Earth doesn't change, even if water changes from one state to another. So we cannot make new water, but we can recycle it. The water on Earth is divided into salt water, which represents 97%, and fresh water, which is divided into glaciers or ice, and it represents 2%, and liquid fresh water, which represent 1%. That's why not all fresh water can be drink. Second, the geosphere. It is the system that includes all the layers of Earth, which are the crust, mantle, inner core, and outer core. Where geo means Earth. This system contains rocks, minerals, soil, molten rock inside Earth, and landforms like mountains, valleys, etc. Third, the atmosphere. It is the system that includes all the gases that surround the Earth. The word atmos means vapor. The atmosphere is usually called air. Air or atmosphere is a mixture of many kinds of gases, such as oxygen, carbon dioxide, and nitrogen gas. And finally, the biosphere. It is the system that includes all living organisms on Earth. The word bio means life. Biosphere contains human, animals, and plants. Where biome is a large region of the world that has similar soil, climate, plants, and animals. They have same characteristics like deserts, forests, rainforest, grassland, and wetland. Let's take how the Earth's spheres interact with each other. Let's start with the interaction of hydrosphere and geosphere, like the erosion of rocks by water, rocks from the geosphere and water from the hydrosphere. Same as the formation of lakes. Water is from the hydrosphere, while land is from the geosphere. Second, the interaction of the atmosphere and biosphere, like the respiration of any living organism from the biosphere, while any gas from the atmosphere, same as the photosynthesis process. And finally, the interaction between geosphere and biosphere. During photosynthesis process, soil provides nutrients for plant roots. So plant roots are from the biosphere and the soil is from the geosphere. And finally, hydrologists are the scientists who study water. They discovered that the large plastics are broken down into small pieces called microplastics, and its length about 5 millimeters. Microplastics are found everywhere on Earth, and they are very dangerous than the large plastics. A group of Indian scientists take samples of microplastics to make searches on it, and they found that the most of these samples were from decaying of carry bags, packing materials, and fishing lines. Thank you for listening and hope you enjoyed it.